So Dikshu, so you did Harvard, then uske baad kya hua tha?
So from Harvard, after my studies there, I wanted to work with a renowned architect. So I worked with an architect, Kevin Roche, who's designed the UN Towers and the Museum of Metropolitan Art and things like that. So it was great to work with him. And then after that, I thought, you know what? I want to go and live in Europe for some time. So I moved to Paris and I got a job there and I worked for a year there. I didn't get much pay, my salary was nothing literally, but the architect I worked for had promised me that, look, I'll give you the experience of your lifetime. And he lived by his promise. So he took me around every weekend around France, showing beautiful places. So it was an experience, absolutely. So that was an amazing experience to live in France.
Your journey has been exciting.
Very, very.
I mean,
I no regrets.
Yeah,
no regrets
phenomenal. Acha, और जब आप वापस आया and the type of projects you all have done from the US Embassy, Finnish Embassy, IIM Lucknow, the Delhi Metro, like it's so interesting because they're so unique, they're so diverse.
Right.
How did they all unfold? How did all this?
You know, after I came back and joined, my father had been running this illustrious practice and he is such a visionary himself. He is really the true sort of icon of architecture. And my experience was that I wanted to do niche projects. So for me, it was about not being restricted to being branded as a certain typology architect that you only do universities or you do only schools. I wanted to explore the spectrum of architecture in terms of different building types.
So you would say this was Dikshu Kukreja's USP. आपके ये सोच था कि ऐसे
Yes,
करना.
I definitely felt that. And the other thing I've always maintained since I came back to India and joined was that for me it's not about the volume of work or the number of people you have in your office. It's about the quality. Because I always tell my team that we are here for a certain finite period in this world. But our buildings are going to live their lives beyond us. So it's very important what we create has meaning and is powerful.
Wow, that's really deep and really soulful. अच्छा, आपके जो toughest project अभी तक जो हुआ है, would you say?
Toughest project? That's a tough question, I think, because there are moments in the journey of a project when you're designing that you feel, oh my God, this is probably the toughest thing you've handled. But then it's once the journey of that project is over, you look back and cherish. So while we are on the campus here of Gautam Buddha University, there were times when I used to feel that, my goodness, this is a very challenging project, because never before in the history of India had a project of this magnitude and scale been built at that time. So we produced for this project, I remember, 20,000 drawings, and it's all been built in just 3.5 years.
और कब build हुआ था? When was it completed?
This project started in 2007 and it was completed by end of 2010. So in 3.5 years, a university for 5,500 students with 131 buildings on campus were all completed.
And that's a record that आपने 3 साल में
Yes, it is, and that too, with all due regard, for a government project to move that fast, where there were more than 400 contractors working on this site at one time.
Who would you give the credit to that it got completed so fast? Mayawati? I mean,
she was the chief minister who had this real vision to create a global university. So it was her vision which was being driven by a very, very accomplished team from the government side. So the Greater Noida Authority, which was given the charge of building this university, they were phenomenal. They made sure they worked day and night. I mean, the team from the engineers of the university, they used to be working here sometimes 24/7. So
I mean, Dikshu, to
incredible.
get how large is this?
This campus area is 511 acres and the total built up area is 75 lakh square feet.
So can you imagine in 3.5 years, इतने जल्दी में इतने बड़ा सा project खत्म करने में कोई आसान चीज़ नहीं है.
It's not. I mean, comparable to this scale projects have sometimes taken 15, 20, 30 years in our country.
Interesting.
So
that's
in that sense, it's very refreshing to see that where there's a will, there's a way.
Okay,
it happens.
That's great to know in India. Yeah. We Indians are resilient, right?
Right,
in the
absolutely.
End. Okay, tell me, you talk about urban planning or the smart cities. urban planning में क्या नया चीज निकल रही है?
See,
to benefit
Indian
India.
cities are really on the threshold of development. If you look around the world,
Right.
how many such countries would be there in a position which are at the cusp of development? The West has already, the Western world, the cities are all established, even in terms of built environment, new built environment, they only
Right.
do renovations of buildings and some new buildings.
Correct.
While in India, the way we have grown and with a 1.3 billion population, there's a lot to be developed. So I think from that point of view,
Right.
there is so much in architecture, the opportunities that are there. But
Right.
what we must remember is that for us, we should learn from both the worlds. The
Okay.
Western world
Right.
in terms of their sort of being adept towards technology and being able to work in a very professional environment, timelines, cost parameters, all these are very well maintained. Quality, these are important parameters from the Western world that we can learn.
Yeah.
From the Eastern world, I think we can learn about how you can respect your tradition. So whether it is Japan, whether it is Korea, there's a lot to
China,
learn. China as well sometimes.
Thailand.
But the fact that, you know, they are able to develop,
Correct.
not at the cost of tradition, but along with tradition.
Beautiful, beautiful. What a learning curve our conversations with you are.